There's two things you can't control when you go out to shoot bird photography. One is, will there be any birds? And second, the weather. Hey, welcome to another video. In this video, I'd like to talk briefly about the two lenses that I typically use when I go out and shoot bird photography. And I can't always say birds in flight because a lot of times they're just wading in the water, which is partially why I use one of the lenses that I use. And people are going to think I'm nuts when I say it's one of the better bird photography lenses that Nikon makes for the Z system. But for me it is. One lens that I use a lot, which is not a Nikon lens, but it's a Tamron 70-300. And in this area where I photograph, I can shoot great blue herons, tricolor herons, green herons, egrets, little white herons, occasional night heron, kingfishers, a myriad of ducks, limpkins, anhingas. There's a few blue jays around here. Occasionally see a cardinal, ospreys. Every few years I'll see a bald eagle down here. I saw one a couple weeks ago. So there's a wide variety. And of course, if you're shooting ospreys or the bald eagle that's flying above, he's not here right now, or even these kingfishers, there's one flying right across there right now, you need a longer lens than the 70-300. I admit that. But one of the reasons why I like it is because it's light. And I can walk for a couple hours with it. It doesn't, even on a Z8, the weight doesn't bother me. Where I think if I was using a 100-400 Nikon, it would probably bother me a lot more. Would the Nikon be a better lens? Probably. One of the problems that I have with the Tamron is it doesn't pick up focus when the birds are flying by, like this Henry, the blue heron that I photograph a lot. He just flew by. And if I had the 70-300, I wouldn't have gotten this shot. But I did get the shot with the other lens that I use quite often, and that's the 24-120 f4. And one of the reasons why I can use it is because I can get very close to the birds that are wading along the path. Is it a good lens for ospreys diving out into the middle of the lake? No, of course not. But that's not really my prime focus when I come down here and I photograph birds. I'm usually after the spoonbills, the herons, birds that are usually typically right along the edge of the bank here, and they're used to seeing people. There's one or two herons that'll scare off pretty quickly. There's one or two spoonbills that'll scare off pretty quickly. But for the most part, you can get fairly close. You can get close enough with a 120 lens and get some decent images. And the advantage to that 24-120 is it picks up focus rather fast. And so if that bird takes off, like this shot right here with the spoonbill, I can capture that. If I'm anticipating and I'm dead on that bird before it takes off, I can get it with the 70-300 as well. I have plenty of examples of that. So I'm not trying to poo-poo that Tamron lens. I probably have more keepers just because of the focal length with the Tamron lens than I do with the Nikon. But my favorite images come from the Nikon lens. So wood stork making his way around down here, but he's not real happy with me. So I don't know if we're going to get close enough. Well, like I was saying earlier, the two things you can't predict, the weather and if there's going to be any birds around. Weather forecast said no rain, just a lot of clouds. So I went out this morning and the water was still. There were a couple of birds around. I mean, absolutely perfect. An osprey just flew over. Absolutely perfect for bird photography, and all of a sudden it just started pouring. Now it's cleared up a little bit and you got all the helicopters training again, and it's later in the day, so you got the work trucks out and the delivery people around. That's just part of it. But what I really wanted to talk about was this 24 to 120 f4 lens. At least for me, it's my favorite bird lens. I know that sounds odd because I'm sure a lot of people would pick a lot of different lenses, but it really depends on the type of bird you're photographing. And because I can get within a few feet of the birds that I enjoy photographing the most, it's just the best lens for me. And it's such an underrated lens, even an overall lens, because I can shoot portraits with it, I can shoot sports if I wanted to, I can shoot birds, I can shoot landscapes. Is it the best one for any one of those things? Maybe not. Maybe for landscapes. Even then, somebody probably say the 24 to 70 2.8 or even a prime. But it's a jack of all trade lens. It does everything pretty well. And again, I may have gotten more keepers, maybe, with the 70 to 300, maybe. It's pretty close. I'd have to go and really look it up and see. But my favorite images always seem to come, at least with birds, from this 24 to 120. Again, if I was shooting finches and some of the small birds that are in these trees all around here, no, this would not be the lens to use. I'm not even sure the 70-300 would be the lens to use. Then you might want one of the 400s or the 600, 800, maybe the 180 to 600, I don't know. But for me, because there's a lot of variables, including weight, size, and a lot of my shots of the herons come within about that 80 millimeter range, 60, 80 millimeters. So some of the longer lenses just wouldn't do me very much good. So it's just something to think about if you own one of these lenses. Don't be afraid to take it out and do some bird photography with it. It's not a bad lens for bird photography. So that's just a quick video, just a few thoughts on it. Wanted to finish it up. But again, if you want to shoot ospreys, pelicans, birds diving out in the middle of the lake, certainly this 24 to 120 is not the lens. Then you might want the 100 to 400 or the 800 or the 600, or if you can afford those lenses. Anyway, thanks for putting up with me, for watching. If you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, take good care.